Okay, we're live. We're live with Jacky Vogt. Welcome, Jacky.
Howdy.
So good to have you. I am just going to make sure that we're live here on our Facebook and that we're ready to go. And we are. Yay, we're streaming. Awesome.
Coming to you live from downtown Colombo, Sri Lanka.
We've actually got the lotus flower right in front of us, like from our room. So we've got Jacky and the lotus flower. So it's a beautiful view. Jacky Vogt, thank you for being live with us. I always think, how am I going to introduce our guests? And when I think of Jacky, I always think of you, Jacky. I think of like wow royalty, honestly. And I know we don't think that way, but that's just what I think. And
right.
You've been with WOW from the very beginning, with Kobe and Fiona. We've gotten to meet you while we've been here, and we've heard a little bit of your story and who you are and what you do, and we find you completely intriguing, and we can't wait for you to share more on this platform about yourself, about your life, about WOW. So let's start there. Tell us a little bit about yourself and who is Jacky and what does she do?
That's a good question, isn't it? Who am I? Because I don't think I'm the same person I was yesterday or even last year or anything. But I came here to Sri Lanka in 1998. I actually came here to work. I'd had a sort of company in the UK and things. I was with my partner was also my boyfriend, and things fell out. So I left the company and then was offered a job over here in the garment trade. So I used to be in the apparel industry, merchandising and organizing administratively in the back. So that's why I came here back in those days. I came here as a single woman with a lot of money being paid to me, with a house, with a car, and with a good salary. And so I was going out, obviously, in between. Work hard, play hard was our motto. And actually that's when I met Fiona the first time, was in those days, right back in those days in 1998. They were just 21, I think, or 21 and 23. I was much older, obviously, but still under 40 then. And so we would party with the same crowd. And so that's how I met them. And I remember very, very clearly one day, it was my 40th birthday, and it was it was not late at night, it was morning by then. That was the first time that I heard Kirby and Fiona say that they believed in God, and I almost died because I was a very, very strong, I was just fell into being atheist because that's the mindset my family had. And so it was, and my friends, and none of us ever considered anything outside of the natural. I mean, it was just what you saw, your five senses, what science could detect was what we believed in, if you like, the religion of science. But when I heard Kirby and Fiona, who I thought were very rational, reasonable, although they were party animals, they also were very reasonable, logical people. When they first told me they believed in God, I was really like dumbstruck. Just that really made me wonder, why they could possibly believe in God. How could they possibly believe in God? It was something for me that was just way off the radar. And that's really where it was left at that point, because, I just kind of woke up in the morning thinking they must be nuts, but they're nice people and we'll carry on partying together, whatever. And then life kind of went on. I was together with Ralph by then. He'd split up from his wife. And we went off to Korea and came back. And then I fell pregnant at the ripe old age of like 40, nearly 44. And of course, Kirby was saying it's a miracle, it's from God and all of this. And I was like, well, it's an unusual thing to happen, but I wouldn't say it's a miracle. It's just highly unlikely at that age just to suddenly, I was married and everything, but to fall pregnant at that age isn't, unless you're really trying hard, is not normal, actually. But anyhow, I gave birth to Harrison. Obviously, I stopped partying. I was a good girl. And when I gave birth to Harrison and Fiona and Kirby, he's the light of the world. He's a gift from God. And I went, yeah, like this. And then when he was about 1.5 years old, I'd started kind of going out a bit by then again. And it was a time of immense, the war was going on here. So there was a war in Sri Lanka between the Tamils and the majority Sinhalese. And that war, most of the time, was taking place on the east and north of the island. But the terrorists brought it to Colombo. So there was bombs going off quite frequently in unexpected places. Obviously, that's the whole point of suicide bombers. And one of the bombs went off just down the road and blew apart a young girl of about 3 years old. And my son was 1.5 years at that time. So I'd now got this sort of maternal thing going on where it wasn't just about me anymore. There was this child as well who was completely dependent on me. And it just really struck me that you can't control anything, you know, like life is just so random. And however much I tried to protect him, just walking down the road, he could get blown to pieces, or I could get blown to pieces and leave him orphaned, you know. So these thoughts were going around in my head while I was out partying with Kirby and Fiona. So I started to ask more questions because this conversation we'd had back then was still in my head and came back to me. And I'd also heard rumor that Kirby and Fiona were really quite religious. I mean, that's what we called it. Like, they were Christian, they were religious, they were really serious about this whole thing. And so I started asking Kirby a few questions about it. And he started to give me a few books to read, which I read and didn't really believe, like Sam Wigglesworth and all of this stuff. I was saying, where's the proof? Where's the photographic evidence? Show me, you know. And then eventually, after this bomb went off, I kind of said to Kirby, listen, do you think if this God is real, that he could protect my son? And Kirby very wisely said yes, because he knew that was the way of bringing me in. So I thought, because I would do anything to protect my son, and I'd also kind of realized that it was a mind shift. Like, if these guys could believe in something that I found so, you know, honestly so ridiculous, what was the difference? And the difference was the way they had been brought up, if you like, and the way I had been brought up. In my environment, that whole supernatural thing, I mean, God is obviously supernatural, and the supernatural didn't exist in my environment, but in their environment, and honestly, everyone here believes in a God of some kind, you know. It's like being an atheist is the weird thing here in Sri Lanka, because everybody's a religious, some kind of religion. So I realized it was to do with my mind, what was stopping me believing in something somebody else could believe in. So I decided, it was almost like what you would call a revelation. I decided I just had to shift my mind and say, okay, maybe there's something outside of the natural. Just because science can't measure it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You know, just because I can't see it or feel it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So if something out of the natural can exist, then so can God, because God is out of the natural. And so Kirby offered to, I said to Kirby, can you teach me how to pray then? And so that's how it started. Just me, Kirby, Fiona, Ralph. There was one other girl that came at that point, but she didn't come back. And it was literally just the four of us in Kirby's, well, actually it was Fiona's mum's house for the very first meeting. We weren't called WOW, we weren't called anything. It was just me and Ralph investigating this possible option of even the existence of God, let alone the whole Christian thing, you know? Yes. So that's how it started. And shall I carry on, or did you want to say anything?
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, keep going. Maybe you can share a little bit. Okay, no, keep going.
Keep
going,
Yeah, okay. Because I can just talk about this for an hour, you know that.
Yeah, I'm loving hearing the story,
So anyhow, after this first meeting, a few other people were like, what were you and Kirby and Fiona doing, you know, on a Tuesday night kind of things. We only ever met on weekends or sometimes on a Wednesday, which was also a party night. But mainly it was, for me now, it was like every other weekend even, because now I had a child. But they said, what were you meeting about? I said, we were just talking about God, actually. Well, why don't I want to come next time? And that was like Tammy, you know, and there was another lady called Matt, who unfortunately is no longer with us. But so a few of these, like our key party people, started saying, look, I want to come. And so gradually over the next few weeks, literally, maybe it increased to 6, 8 people. And little did we know that Kirby was anyhow in contact with Pastor Neil in Dubai. And he'd had this prophecy way before that he was going to get his friends out of the clubs. Now, none of us knew about this at that point. I was kind of thinking it was me that started this whole thing. Actually, really, it was already a prophetic pronouncement from before. So Kirby was going back to Neil and sort of saying, now, what do I do with this group? How do I direct them and whatever? And so he was also getting advice from Neil on how to not manage us, but what to teach us, what to kind of teach us. But Kirby himself obviously has always been a man of revelation. So as the Pastor Neil came over, and it was with him that we received Christ. So when Fiona says we had the champagne and we were all doing that, sometimes you might hear us say that, when Jacky and Ralph and that Tammy Ryan all said yes to Christ, we were in our hotel room, our apartment in Mount Lavinia, and we broke open a bottle of champagne. That's how we celebrated. And so that was the beginning. And then a few people came, like Pastor Luke, who Kirby spoke about the other day, who's now going to be one of the bishops in America. He came over and gave his input into us. A few other people came in to speak into us as well. And then we decided that we should go to a church. Well, that's what I thought we should do, because that's what you did, because this was just a prayer group, right? So we started going to a local charismatic church, and this crowd, that's why they called it the Blue Elephant Revival, because the Blue Elephant was the nightclub we used to go to. And so this sort of crowd turned out, but we were all a little bit stiff in the church. But in the prayer meetings, we were starting to open up a bit and starting to worship a bit and listen to some Hillsong records and things like that. We were still not where you see us now, but we were starting to get into it a little bit. And then we went to see David Herzog in Dubai, and there we really broke free in worship. They were with the gatekeepers, John and Kelsey Bell. I can't even say the name, the besties they referred to. They were doing the worship, and they were singing Open the Floodgates of Heaven and Let It Rain and all of this. And that's where we really found our freedom. And then when we came back to Sri Lanka after that and tried doing that in the church, we were getting a few looks from the people in the back pews. But we started doing it in our own meetings, and we started calling them glory meetings. And so we had gold dust. Kirby got a real impartation from David Herzog for gold dust, signs and wonders. We were looking in people's mouths for gold teeth. And so our own prayer meetings were no longer just prayer meetings. They were these full blast kind of worship, glory, signs and wonders. And they were really taking off. And that's how, and then we started to be called WOW, because it was actually Pastor Neil, I think, who said, this is absolutely wow. And that's the name we took. Yeah.
All we can say, I was just about to say wow, but isn't it funny, because like it's constantly, every time you hear stories and all the amazing, wonderful things that God has done and is doing through our life, it's always wow, isn't it? So I think it's named appropriately.
Yes, I mean, that was the only explanation anybody could have.
Yeah.
Of course, we weren't taken terribly seriously by anybody in terms of, these are the guys, like they say, the Blue Elephant Revival. These are the guys from the nightclub. This is just a passing fancy. They decided to just do this now to make an impact, kind of thing. And I think a lot of people thought it would just fade away. And quite honestly, quite a few people that started off with us didn't continue. They have dropped by the wayside, because what they wanted was what we first had, which was a small group. I mean, we used to have dinner together every time we had a meeting, Yeah. It was like just a small elite group of people discussing religion or discussing Jesus or discussing the word, but it wasn't meant to be for everybody. It was only for us.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you know,
Yeah.
like you guys have turned into, from a handful of people meeting up in a lounge room in a house to a worldwide movement, just around 15 years or so.
Actually, it's
And
2006 we started. Yeah.
Wow.
so, yeah, it's like, and so in this time, I mean, it's turned into this huge worldwide movement, and it's exploded. And I mean, how can you maybe share a little bit about how WOWLife has navigated such growth?
Well, I think honestly, Robbie, without our leaders, without Kirby and Fiona having the vision, I mean, I've never known the extent of their vision, really, because obviously you don't need to, in a way, scare people at the very beginning of their journey. So for us, we didn't really understand where this was going to lead. But I do believe that Kirby and Fiona knew right from there that Kirby keeps saying that he was sent, he's been called, and he always knew he was called for this Reformation movement. It's just us lot that didn't really understand it and had just kind of gone along for the ride. And what Kirby has always said is just keep walking with me, just keep walking with me, just keep walking with me, and stay in the trajectory or in the gravitational orbit, and just take one step at a time and do what you need to do at that point. He has the vision. He and Fiona, obviously, and Pastor Neil, and then he's kind of drawn to him people who have shared his vision and have seen what this really truly is going to lead to. And so at first, obviously, it had to be established here in Sri Lanka in the home ground, what they now call the mothership. And so I think Kirby and Fiona very wisely chose a leadership for that. And their choice was not based on even ability or knowledge of the word or anything. It was on friendship more than anything else. So Tammy, Ryan, me and Ralph are all leaders of WOW, but we're not the most qualified in terms of our anything. Actually, we're not the most qualified in terms of anything, apart from our friendship and our loyalty towards Kirby and Fiona, and our ability to just go with the flow, really, and to step into whatever it's required of us when it's required, without kind of just turning away from it, And then, we've got other leaders on the 12 WOW church leadership who have come in, like Philip, Therese. They all have different attributes to bring. Naomi and Trevor, they have different ways that they support Kirby and Fiona. And it could be right in the back. It's not even in the front, It could be right at the back. Even Trevor and Naomi would sit behind Kirby and Fiona, never in the front, because they were almost like their guardians. And so they've always protected them. They have standing here in Colombo. And so they've always kind of been a protection against maybe some of the more, negative voices, people that have tried to discredit Kirby and Fiona, especially in public, because it's only a small city. So it's very easy for people to hear gossip and rumors and all of that. So his leadership have helped form this kind of a little bit of a protective wall, and have been willing and able to do whatever is needed. And then he had the vision for the ADC, and he's created a board for that. And then when COVID came and he started, this is the time for me to reach out more in America. I'd already done trips and everything in America. Then already by then, Linda Ordway had gone to a 5DP, and she saw something in Kirby as well. And she's had this immense experience with promoting expanding ministries online as well. So they kind of put together this plan for the coach groups. We'd already had coach groups here in Sri Lanka set up. So we kind of used a model from here and expanded it. But it needed visionaries as well in America that had already been placed there for a time such as this. And already Chanel and Rosha had been placed in Australia for a time such as this. And then people from Africa, India, So we kind of got people who naturally, they just came up as we needed them from all the different continents and said, send me, basically, is what they were saying. I'm ready. Rose in America, in India, they're all saying, send me, I'm ready. And somehow through YouTube or through Facebook or whatever, they had been following Kirby already. Maybe they'd gone to a conference, maybe they'd gone to a 5DP or something like that. And then when the time came, this whole like bunch of incredibly able people all around the world just threw up their hands and said, we want to get on board with this, and set up, like, I can't remember what we called it now, but another kind of group that were helping with all of the organizing of everything. Somebody, Yami, was doing the finance. I mean, suddenly people came up that were really well qualified in all the areas that we need them to be. And so, and because of obviously online and the Zoom and everything really developed during COVID time, now there's a way for us all to communicate and get together and handle a whole global movement without having to physically be running around the world the whole time.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Isn't it beautiful how God just, orchestrates the whole thing, and he brings you the right people, the resources, one thing that Kirby said just the other day, he said that when we step out, and when you take that step, and there is just an ease and a flow, like it's that you're on the right path. That because everything, it's just, there's a flow and an ease to it, and I think that's just one thing we've got to remember. True. Yeah.
One of the what Kirby and Fiona have, and which I mean, I'd love to have as well, and I pray for it and I hope it's imparted. They have this amazing ability to discern people's giftings and talents, and they're able to bring that out. So they really kind of, when something needs to be done, they immediately have in mind who would be the best person to do that. And you might not even think it would be you, but they have already discerned that you're the one to do it. And what I've found is that when they say you're the one to do it, the best thing to say is just yes, okay. Because you might not feel like you're that one. You might not feel like you can do it. But if they say you can, I've never, ever agreed to do something that I've not been able to do when they've said that they believe I could do it. Even though I haven't believed I could do it,
Yes.
So I got into the habit of saying, okay, and then even Ralph would turn around and say, how are you going to do that? I said, I have no clue. I really don't know. I'm not qualified for it. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I do know that hopefully closer to the time, something will fall into place and it will be done, So the step of faith, I think, that we've learned to take.
Yeah, wow. I love that. I love that that's how things operate as well. It's such a different kind of model, and we're thankful to be a part of it, and we're thankful to be a part of this global move, that is so diverse. I mean, to be in so many nations, you need to know how to manage diversity. And Liz Blake has asked an amazing question. So I'm just this isn't one of the questions, Jacky, but I'm going to read out Liz's question because it's amazing. So she asked, how do you manage such diversity? Because most people's experience in a growing church is that control sets in. So how is it done at WOW? Because one thing that I know, and with Arrow and Chanel as well, is something that they really drum into us, is that there is no space and no room for control and manipulation. That is something that WOW has transmuted, and it's something that WOW walks in. So do you want to chat a little bit around that?
Well, I think that what we've kind of learned is that diversity is fun and interesting for you as a person as well. So for example, when we first came back from, because we went to Australia for 9 years, Ralph and I. So actually during the time when WOW first set itself up as a church, we weren't even here, to be honest. We were in Australia trying to set up a little fledgling WOW there. But that's not the reason we went. We went there because Ralph had been offered a really good job in Australia. And so we went there and that's where we intended to live forever, you know, and here we are in Sri Lanka. But anyhow, what was the question? Oh yeah. So when we came back, I remember Kirby organized this party, and some of the people and it wasn't a huge party. It was quite a small group of people, but some of the people that were invited, we thought, I'm not sure I can have anything in common with these people, or I don't know what I'm going to say to these people, or they're not the normal kind of people. They're not like Tammy and Ryan and Ara and Chanel and all the ones we were used to kind of hanging out with. But what we've realized is that when you can actually see in somebody else something that's not like you at all, but something that you can actually find really interesting, and you can actually benefit from their different perspective or their different way of doing things, and you don't just reject it. You know, we're so used to just, I don't like that. I hate that. That's not me. I don't like people that say this. I don't like people that do that. I don't like tattoos. I don't like hair longer than shoulder length. You know, we're so quick to put up barriers and boxes that we actually lose out on enjoying diversity. And so I think what we've learned to do is to even if you meet somebody and they're not necessarily your kind of person, that doesn't mean they're not your kind of person. Actually, you might find that they are, because you actually enjoy talking about or learning from them or listening to them or finding out things that you would never find out about if you just stuck with your normal kind of crew. So I think we've learned not to dislike, not to hate, not to reject, not to kind of push away just because it's different. And in that, we can then embrace it. And it doesn't mean we have to love it. I mean, you're supposed to love everybody, but we have different affections for different people. And of course, you can prefer the company of some people to others. You can enjoy the company of some people more than others. But it's the mindset that sort of rejects those that you think are not your kind of people that needs to go. And then see how your life opens up, and see how your social circles can open up, and even your enjoyment of people at church can open up when you're not so cliquey. I mean, we can be cliquey, but we're trying hard not to be.
Yeah. Jacky, that's a sign of true wisdom right there. That is, you know, I think that's what God's intention is when he puts teams together. You know, he likes to, you know, just, I mean, even as a husband and wife, you notice that most of the time you they're like polar opposites, you know, and that's because, you know, that's the way God intended it. And I guess when we give into that and understand that this is God's plan, you know, to do this beautiful work inside of us, you know, like Kirby calls it, the adversary, you know, the adversary.
But I think that kind of we felt like, for example, if I don't like to do something, then, and somebody else is really good at it, I can almost get judgmental about that person. I can almost, because I can't do it, I judge them for being able to do it, or I get jealous or resentful because I can't. Rather than just enjoy it and say, oh, great, you can cook me a meal. I can eat, I'll eat it, you know, rather than having to compete on the cooking front. You know, if you don't like cooking, marry a chef. That's what I did. So I just enjoy his cooking, and I don't have to be able to cook like that. Even if you look at Kirby, Fiona, even with Mel, who's Kirby's Fiona's sister, they all contribute in different ways to everything, and none of them are competing with each other. They're just enjoying what the other one brings to the table, and allowing that one to flourish in their gifting and in their what they like to do, in their passions and everything. So I think that is important, without getting resentful. So I mean, even when it comes to things like exercise, Fiona, she loves to do running and weight training, and me, triathlete. And I'm very lazy, and I just do it. So far today, I've done a little bit of like yoga. So I mean, and there was a part of me saying, well, it's not good for you to run anyway, and you know, you can hurt your joints and limb, you know, by running. But actually, it's because I can't run and I don't like running that I would find fault with what she was doing, if you like, in that way. You know, it's just a small example, but that's what we tend to do. But now I just say, oh, she loves running, let her run. I love doing what I like to do, let me do that, and let's see who lives the longest.
That's such a good analogy, actually. That was such a good, simple analogy to what Liz asked about like how do we manage diversity? Like, honestly, that answer was perfect, because sometimes we can so complicate the answer that we don't really know what we just said. But that was just a perfect example. And I know one thing that we've been drawn to sorry, that was my son calling. Is the unique expression, you know. And I think one thing, you know, with the unique expression coming out of WOWLife is the fact that WOW was originally located here in Sri Lanka. And, you know, just being here in your nation, Jacky, and seeing the honour that is not like, you don't see this in the West really, is the honour that you have for others' unique expression, including other people's faiths and religions. You know, like obviously this is a Buddhist country, and for us to see how everybody, even Christians, honour the Buddhist faith, you know, and honour their God is such a beautiful thing. And honestly, WOW is just a reflection of such honour and respect. You know, we haven't seen that anywhere. You know, we've just been so touched to be here and see how WOW operates, you know, in honouring the unique expression. And one thing that, you know, that WOW does is talk about long and lasting life, you know, talk about immortality. We talk about the body temple and the importance of, can you hear us? Hang on.
Jacky, we've just lost the video.
She might have, hang on, someone might be calling her or something.
We just sort of, your screen's gone black. Are you still there? Okay.
Just give it a minute.
Here we go.
Okay.
Hey, are you still there? Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, maybe just flip your phone to the side. There we go.
Awesome.
All right.
Perfect.
We're back in action.
Yeah. It's good. Awesome.
No, I don't know what to do.
No, you're perfect. We can see you. Can you see us? We can see you now.
Yeah.
That's
good. That's good.
Can you see us?
Can you hear us? Jacky, can you hear us? I think we've lost sound.
I can't hear anything.
Oh, can you see us? Can you, Liz, can you, what's, I suppose it's the same thing that's happening on our screen. Liz said get the charger.
Lost it.
Hey, can you see us, Jacky? Or you just can't hear us?
Do you want to read the comments? Read the comments.
I don't know what to do, Robbie.
Oh, Jacky, can you hear us or can you see us? We've lost video. We've lost video and...
Who said that? Sorry, give it a minute to sort it out.
Yeah. Okay. I can hear
Perfect.
You can hear us again?
Perfect.
Oh, okay, we're back. We're back in action.
This happens during lives, don't worry. It's like things just go on off.
There's all kinds of weird stuff that happens.
It's technology, right? Perfect. Yay. Okay, we're all back. Okay, so Yeah, so we were chatting about, that's right, long life, immortality, like what comes out of WOW, the teaching of, the reformative word of, long and lasting life and the importance of the body. And you've been like crucial in, kind of teaching this in WOWLife. I know for us, we first sort of heard you in the 2018 5DP, and you were teaching about, Christ-centered yoga. And I know that we have to put in Christ-centered still, but, but we're kind of growing in that as Christians, right? And we've come a long way. Do you want to share a little bit around your journey around yoga and the body temple and some of your teachings, because they are profound?
Okay. So my first introduction to yoga was really when I was just over 40. So this was a time I was partying with Kirby and Fiona, but I had a really terrible backache. I mean, it was really bad, and it was ended up that I had a bulging disc at the bottom of my spine. And there was even talk, I went to London on a business trip, and there was even talk of me having an operation on it. And then I was on painkillers. And then I went to Korea, and I was on painkillers a lot of the time because of my back. And then when we came back from Korea to Sri Lanka, I can't stay away from the place, that's when I was introduced to yoga just as a physical exercise. So it was a type of yoga called Iyengar yoga, but it was really about because the physical aspect of yoga is all about the spine. It's focused entirely on the spine. So everything you do, even your hip opening, your shoulders opening, your hamstring stretches and everything, are to release your spine from pressure, because your spine is crucial to your health. If your spine is out of action, first of all, you can't move. You're stuck. You know how many people have literally backache who can't even go to work or whatever. So and it causes immense pain when your back is in pain. But also, if anything happens to your spine, if you're nervous, if it protects the obviously the central nervous system. So if anything happens there, then you're paralyzed. And depending on where your spine is damaged, depends on where the paralysis sets in. So the spine is crucial to our everyday life, and yet we neglect it to our peril. How many people have backache because of the posture they're sitting in the whole day, because they're dumping down into their back and compressing the discs in between the vertebrae, and then they press into that central nerve, and then that causes immense pain all over the body. So the spine is known as the central energetic channel of the body. And if you don't keep that healthy, you're going to lose mobility, you're going to lose strength, you're going to lose your ability to interact with people. And the temple was always meant to be, from the beginning, the temple was a tabernacle. The original temple was a tabernacle. It was a tent. And the tent was always movable. So wherever the Israelites went, the tabernacle went with them. It wasn't stuck in one place. So the temple is now, we know from Paul and from Jesus, he said, in 3 days, this temple is going to be destroyed, but in 3 days, I'll build it up. And it was his body. And we know from Paul that the temple is our body, that our body is now the temple. It's always been meant to be the temple. The tabernacle was a foreshadow of the physical body. The physical body was always meant to be the temple of God, the dwelling place of God. So we're now supposed to be the mobile dwelling place of God. So if we can't move, we're not necessarily doing a great job about being mobile. You understand what I mean? So movement is all part of our body, is what we're meant to do. How can you come here to Sri Lanka? How can you minister in Sydney? I mean, it can be done. I'm not saying if you're paralyzed, you can't be a minister or can't house God, but I'm just saying mobility is key to our ability to spread the gospel. Honestly. So for me, this is without even being mystical. This is just practical. This is just the fact that if you're not mobile, if you're not strong, if your body is not healthy, then your ability to do the job that you're meant to do on earth is limited and confined. These days we do have online, so you can do it better. But mobility is key to, I believe, and it was part of the main point of the tabernacle was that it was mobile. So the temple has always been the meeting place of God and man, right? It's where God meets man. So now that meeting place is in you and I. And so this meeting place, once you leave this tent, your effectiveness on earth is no longer there. So if I have the best revelation in the world and I need to get that word out, I need a body that can do that. I need a body that can move, that can travel, that can impact people, that can be around for a long time. Because once it's gone, then everything that I have in me that's able to spread the gospel, to bring in the kingdom, is gone with me, apart from what I've been able to leave behind. So I feel like longevity, long life, is our portion, not just for our sakes. And a healthy body is not just for our sakes, because how much more enjoyable is life if your body is healthy and mobile and strong, and you can do things. You can even just get off the floor, get up the ladder, stretch for something, reach something. You're not like stumbling around looking at the floor because your back's curved over and now you can only look down and not up. You know, your back's not aching because you're hunched the whole time. Your shoulders aren't aching because they're tense the whole time. How much more enjoyable is life if we're able to be free and open and walk and move and be fully mobile? And then how much more effective are we if our body is in that state? So again, I know some people are going through, and I know some dear friend of ours is going through a terrible, not even terrible, I won't say terrible, but is going through a time when the body is not functioning. And then the revelation can be that much more. You know, they're going through a time when they're having to really think about everything and get really close to God because their body is not functioning. But for the most of us, a functioning body is vital for our work. And the longer we can keep that body healthy, not just long life, but healthy long life, the better, I believe. Yeah. And yoga is a brilliant tool for that. Just in the physical aspect of it. Just physically, because it focuses on the spine and on everything that attaches to the spine, just by doing the physical asanas, they're called, you will find your body get stronger, more flexible, more mobile, and you will have less backache and you will have less problems physically, just by doing the physical side. Yeah. And then if you add in the rest of it, then you come into a place where yoga can be an amazing instrument for spiritual growth as well. Because first of all, yoga encourages mindful awareness. And we know that without conscious awareness, there's no spiritual growth, right? Fiona will always say, mega awareness, mega awareness, mega awareness. Because if we're not conscious of our thoughts, if we're not conscious of our feelings, if we're not conscious of our words, if we're not conscious of our actions, we're just mindless, unconscious beings. Then there's no room there even for spiritual growth. There's no room for us to be effective. There's no room for us to become the word become flesh, because we're mindless and working on automatic pilot, like a dog, you know, salivating when the food comes out, the bell rings, that kind of. So yoga encourages mindful awareness. And one way it does that, again, if you take the spiritual or mystical element out of it, it's simply because in the practice of yoga, you're encouraged to consciously be thinking about or bringing your awareness to a part of your body and even making small adjustments internally to your rib cage, to your shoulder blades. I mean, things that you wouldn't even think about normally, to your hip flexor, whatever. You're encouraged to be consciously thinking about your body in that way, which is honing what I call the muscle of awareness. So awareness is a muscle that needs to be exercised. And if you don't exercise it, it doesn't grow strong and you just go around being mindless. I mean, just unconscious, which I do half the time anyway, even though I do yoga, you know. I'll put my phone down somewhere, I have no clue where I put it because it's a mindless act. I've done it without being aware of it. And so with the practice of yoga, you bring into conscious awareness things that are normally unconscious. Even your breath normally is going on subconsciously, non-consciously. But in yoga, you bring it into your conscious awareness and then you manipulate it. You change your inhale, you change your exhale, you do it quick or you do it slow, or you do it with a pause or you do it without a pause. So there's all different ways of manipulating what is normally unconscious by being conscious. And then once you've taken what's normally going on in a non-conscious way, brought it into your awareness, reprogrammed it into a more beneficial way, you can release it back into your non-conscious, and you're on a different level, you know. So yoga encourages mindful awareness, and it uses the body as a tool to practice that. And as you practice that, your body is also becoming more flexible, more strong, more it just is becoming better in a way, if you like. So that's
I tell you what, it feels amazing. Like just the other day, when we were at the Prana Lounge with you, you know, and you were leading us in a beautiful 1 hour yoga session. It was, I tell you what, at the end of it, it was like, wow, like you just feel amazing, invigorated, and like opened up, and just wonderful. And I think the beautiful thing is that for Christians, so many Christians tend to steer away from yoga because I guess they're afraid of what they think it could do to them or harm them in some way or whatever. But I guess the way that you've got a beautiful understanding to know that you are the light of the world, you know, and so as you're, you bring light. And there's no darkness. Darkness cannot overcome the light, you know. And so in this 1 hour session, as you were leading us, it was so lovely that you were doing it in a beautiful Christ-centered, Holy Spirit-led way, and you were even sharing a little bit about the seven spirits, you know, like of God, and like just little parts to actually, help people understand that it's okay, you know, and that God, I guess God, the beautiful thing is no matter what you do, whenever it's Holy Spirit led, you know, it's a safe place, you know, and
I think that's something. I mean, I understand people being wary of yoga because quite often you can go to a yoga class and the teacher may be talking about this goddess or that god, and bringing in things, chanting and things that they're not comfortable with. And I understand that. And quite honestly, I in my journey, I've never really gone to those kind of yoga classes because it doesn't edify me. But if I did find myself in a class where somebody was talking about that, I know that he who is in me is far greater than anything else, so it's not going to impact me. But it doesn't necessarily edify me either. So I'd rather not go, you know what I mean? I'm not scared to go, but I'd rather just not go to that kind of yoga class. There's so many different kinds of yoga classes out there. It's easy to find one that's not talking about this goddess and that god and this whatever. But obviously for us as Christians, the temple is the body, right? So in the body is God. In the body are the seven spirits. And in the body, we can start to now see how let's put it this way. In every body, God resides, but God is not activated in every body. That's the way I see it. So even when the yogis have been talking about the chakras, they felt an energetic presence at certain parts of their body, what they call wheels of life, energy wheels. And Christians are like, oh my God, this is all whatever. But there's a certain wisdom in all of these ancient things because they've experienced it. Come on, they've experienced something that stirs up, that when they activate certain areas, things have happened, right? So for us, we've now started realizing that if the tabernacle is the pattern of the temple, it's a pattern. It was never meant to be the real thing. It's a pattern. So when we take the pattern of the tabernacle and we apply it to our own bodies, then we can start to see how, first of all, the different, if you like, furniture or articles in the tabernacle can be located in our own bodies in a way that means that when we bring our awareness to those areas, we get fresh revelation, we get fresh activation just by bringing our awareness to certain parts of our body. And then when we look at the menorah and the Jewish tradition, we see how they the spirit of the fear of the Lord and the spirit of knowledge and the spirit of counsel, we can start to layer that on, and we can realize that we can actually reconcile the chakras to the seven spirits, and we can locate that in areas of our body, along the spine and out through the crown, that are fundamental. And as I said, the spine is the fundamental energetic channel of our bodies. So when we bring our awareness to certain parts of our bodies, I believe that when we correlate or correspond the articles in the temple with the spirit, one of the 7 spirits, then we activate that spirit more, that aspect of the spirit. Let's put it this way, because the 7 spirits are all aspects of one spirit, of the Holy Spirit. But sometimes we need more wisdom, for example. So to activate wisdom, if we locate wisdom in our pituitary or pineal glands, then we can, by bringing our awareness to that and perhaps doing some particular physical exercises, we can link the nervous system to that activation, because all the time we're trying to lock it down in our nervous system to activate it in the spiritual. So I do believe that with this teaching on the body temple, with the articles of the tabernacle, correlating that with the 7 spirits, we can really start to use yoga in a way that's going to bring about even greater benefits to us, because we're now really combining mind, body, and spirit together in one practice. I'm not saying that you're not going to need to still go on your cardiovascular, your cardio machine to get your heart rate up, or do, weight training for your muscle or your bone density. But I do believe that when we really start to follow through with this body temple, 7 spirit yoga, we can start to feel a much deeper presence of God, that we can start to get a much deeper revelation on all kinds of things, from the sacrifice, from the knowledge, emotions, from counsel, wisdom, understanding. We can get much greater understanding of this and lock it down into our nervous system in a way that's going to help us with this long life, because we need to become the Word made flesh. The Word is spirit, right? The Word is spirit and life. Jesus was the Word made flesh, which is why he was undieable unless he chose to lay down his life. So the more we become the Word made flesh, the more undieable we become. So these are all tools and ways to help us on that journey. It's not like we're trying to reach God through yoga. It's not like we're trying to even reach enlightenment, because when you receive Christ, you receive the Spirit. You're already in a way enlightened in the up up, but now we're bringing that in the down down. So we need to use tools to do that. And I do believe yoga can be one of those tools. Now, there's a lot of people at WOW that don't do yoga. They don't particularly like yoga. And there may be certain people at WOW who say they should do yoga but don't do yoga because they haven't got time to do yoga. So it's not like it's a WOW doctrine that we have to do yoga. I mean, really, what we want people to do is move. That's why we have WOW Move. We're more interested in a way in people moving than doing any particular type of movement. But I just think there is, and for those you see, that those who are interested in this sort of idea of yoga and the 7 spirits, let them latch on to this. Somebody else is more interested in the angelic and all the angelic and the planets and all of that. Let them latch on to that. That's why we're diverse. Kirby and Fiona and that, they do the triathlon, which I'm not interested in at all. So let people find something that resonates and let them go with that. So long as it's beneficial and edifying and causing them to lengthen. We haven't got a formula. It's not one formula. The worst thing you can do is tell people you have to do this, you have to eat that, you have to do this in order to live long. Because once you put the rules on them, when they break the rule, that's condemnation, that's death. The more rules you have, the more likely you are to break them, the more likely you are to be condemned, and the more you're going to eat into your longevity. So we try to take condemnation off it and give people options to choose how they want to live long, healthy life.
That's right.
And as soon as you say you have to be a vegan, you have to only eat meat. Now in WOW at the moment, we've got people who are calling themselves right now carnivores because they're going on a carnivore diet. A while ago, they were all on keto. Before that, I think they had a period of vegan. They just swap and change it. And nobody's condemning anybody for doing anything.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know?
That's right.
If you want to eat a steak, fine. If you want to eat your veggies, fine. Just don't condemn me for doing what I want to do when I don't. I know that it's all in the same, you know, that all things can. Oops, my battery's going to look bad. When I also know that there's enough scientific evidence to say eating meat is healthy or eating vegetables is healthy. So you choose.
That's right. One thing, Jacky, one thing that just quickly you mentioned, you know, because one thing that Kirby teaches us is that we're the intelligent church, you know, WOW is the intelligent church. And you quickly mentioned, and you mentioned the up, and the down, right? And from memory, are you the one that sung that out originally? Is that right?
No.
No, what happened?
Fiona, no, I don't come up with anything that brilliant. Fiona came downstairs and she'd had the voice. It was saying up, down, down before they were coming to America a year or two years ago or something.
Right.
So she was the one that kind of got this up, down, down.
Right.
And then it got put into a song and everything like that over there. But yeah, she was the one that heard that. And it just explains it so well, because we're always talking about the finished work, and then, you know, you're saved but being saved, you're sort of, you know, there's always like a past tense and a present tense to everything. And so you're wondering what this means. And by the up, down, down, it kind of explains it. Yes, in the up, you're saved. In the up, you're whatever, it's finished. You know, you're healed, you're rich, you're prosperous, you're everything God wants you to be in the up. But in the down, you may not be anywhere near there. And when I say saved, I don't go to heaven saved. I mean, salvation is a daily thing, right? Your finances need to be saved, your relationships, your health, everything in the down. We want saved, don't we? I want to be rich, prosperous. I want to be healthy. I want to be, for my relationships to be going well. And I want that for my whole family and all my friends and everybody. So that's what I want in the down. And knowing that it's finished in the up, sometimes it's like, well, where's the contradiction? And that's why we have the word. That's why we have 2 weekly meetings. That's why we have coach groups. That's why I have all these teachings, is to bring what's objectively a reality, objectively a fact or real, into our subjective reality, because there's a disconnect, isn't there? So Fiona's kind of up, down, kind of makes it so much easier to explain.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Perfect. Beautiful and simple, isn't it? It is beautiful and simple, because that's the gospel, isn't it? It's
on earth as it is in heaven.
So good, Jacky. Hey, we've probably only got about 5 minutes left or so. Is there anything else that?
Can I ask about Christian Mystery School?
Yeah, CMS. I mean, look, you were like you played a pivotal role in the Christian Mystery School for a couple of years there, and I mean, this was an opportunity for you know, for I guess for the people that were just absolutely blessed, beyond blessed, to be able to receive this incredible to sit under you know, this beautiful prophet Kirby Delanero, you know, and receive his knowledge and wisdom, you know, and just this amazing school that he had for 2 years. And you were I guess someone who administrated it and got it going, and, you know, did probably a whole lot of other things, you know, with this school. Now, maybe could you tell us a little bit about how, you know, how the school has impacted the WOW World community and beyond, and maybe, I guess, whatever else you want to share. Yeah.
So CMS obviously was something that Kirby, together with Linda Ordway, came up with, and I just kind of came alongside to help administratively. Honestly, that's basically what I did, and to try and make sure that on the Zoom calls people didn't, you know, spend half an hour talking about their life story like I just did. So my job was more that the material for Christian Mystery School was not from me at all. It was all from Kirby, right? So I didn't have anything to do with the actual syllabus, if you like. So I was learning as the same way everybody else was learning. It's not something that we'd learned here already, and now he was letting it out globally. We were going along with him, with you all, and hearing things for the first time. And so obviously, even in that process, there's certain things I could resonate with, and other things that were like, well, I can't get my head around that at the moment. Let me just put that to one side. And so I think it's not like we're all, and I'm not naturally a mystic. As you know, I come from an atheist background. I explained that before. So there's certain aspects that for me are a little bit challenging in the whole thing, but I've also learned not to dismiss and not to just negate it and not to close my heart off from it, just to say, okay, this is what I can absorb for now, and let me put that to one side, and then I'll revisit it. And I've learned over the last 18 years, that's not a bad policy, because a lot of stuff that we've heard before, we couldn't receive it, and now we're able to receive it, because first of all, the global consciousness has to be ready, or there has to be enough people with an expanded consciousness who are ready to receive things. Otherwise, it just gets rejected. Like even immortality, when Prophet Kobus was first preaching on it, was like, whoa, this is just crazy, And it was completely rejected by the church. And again, it was heretical to even talk about it. And now it's become accepted quite widely that actually in the Bible it does say that God doesn't want us to die. And now it's just a question of working out how not to die, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it is God's will. At least we know that.
Right.
But for Christian Mystery School, there were so many people who were impacted, and in different ways. So I know that some people found certain aspects of it mind-blowing and use it all the time, like the inner temple or the luminous tablets or angels, dispatching angels to do work here and there. For some people, comes almost naturally, and they found a way of now being able to do what they knew they could always do. And they found a way of doing it without their fantasies getting in the way. So the first thing Christian Mystery School teaches you is to become an observer and to let go of all your preformed ideas, which isn't easy to do. And I don't know if we ever fully do it ever, but at least you're being trained to kind of see things from a overall viewpoint and let go of the biases of your traditions, of your churches, of your family, of your experiences. Try and let that go and just observe and discern. So that's the first step. And then you start to build your inner temple where you go there to minister in the realm of the Yesod. And so there's certain people that have really taken that on board and do it, I know, all the time. I'm not necessarily one of those, right? So although they called me principal, I stepped into the role of principal because it helped me keep control over the mystical rabble. But it doesn't mean
that's good.
What was taught. But what we are going to do going forward is what we're calling School of Prayer. And we're going to, because CMS was over 2 years altogether, and there's a lot of information, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, when I go back through all the transcripts and the videos, there's so much that Kirby poured out, but it's not necessarily that all of us can take hold of that. And so what we're trying to do with the School of Prayer is to make it in more bite-sized chunks, to kind of feed it a little bit more like, when you say intelligent church, yes, but then there's people like me that struggle with some of the stuff. So just make it a little bit more palatable for a wider audience, that you don't have to be a mystic or even that mystical to benefit from this, because it just shows us how we can pray more effectively, how we can get things done in a way by using some of the protocols, but maybe not getting so deeply into it, because that's not for everybody. That's why we're a church of diversity. But it doesn't mean a much wider group of people can't benefit from some of the protocols and use them in their daily prayer life and in their daily lives. So that's the idea of the School of Prayer. We're working on it now, just kind of taking bits and pieces from the CMS, putting it together. Darren's also doing some videos, and he's excellent at kind of bringing together what Kirby's saying. None of us can understand it, but then he puts it in a video and, that's what he means. And Darren has that ability to do that. And also working together with Kathy Hampton, who's brilliant from America. She's actually the one who kind of has transcribed all of Kirby's teachings and put them into different headings and made presentations on it and everything. She's a fabulous academic and mystic, and so she's also working on this. She's doing most of the work on this, actually. So far she's done most of it. But so we're hoping to have that together by sort of the beginning of around about September time, after Kirby comes back from doing his ordinations in America, where he'll be coming next. So we're hoping to have it in a bit more of a like palatable, bite-sized pieces, CMS condensed.
Beautiful.
See, this is one of the most beautiful. This is one of the beautiful things I love, and it's so part of the WOWLife culture to actually get that which is deep and mystical, but to put it into an applicable, understandable, way for people to be practically make it beneficial for everyone, and so this is what I love.
The more people we can impact, the better, isn't it? We don't want to
That's
keep
right.
For a certain tiny portion of people. We want as many people to benefit as possible, even if it's not so deep. It doesn't mean it's not efficient,
That's right. That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah, so good, Jacky. Wow, thank you so much, Jacky. I think this has been such a lovely chat. We're probably just about going to wrap it up. Is there anything that you would love to finish up with or share before we finish up?
Well, I'd love to say congratulations, because I forgot. I was going to say that right at the beginning. So many congratulations, Vesna and Robbie, for your ordination yesterday. It was the most beautiful, wonderful ceremony. You and the other 8 guys from Australia. It was just awesome, and I really feel, and I'd like to ask you if you feel different today.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
We're still processing it, and but it really was one of the most honestly honoring things that we have been a part of. Like, I feel so privileged, and if there's anything I would liken it to is to it's the marriage feast of the Lamb. To see his church glorified in such a way, to see Christ glorified as he was last night, like to do it together with the body, to be there with all of you guys, to do it together with the body, to see Kirby and Fiona model ordination like we've never seen it, to see the humility of Prophet Kirby and Prophet Fiona, which is, we want to honor them as that, because and all of you guys as well, the WOW body, is honestly one of the most beautiful things we have experienced, and a great honor. And we've been processing it with the others as well, and we're kind of floating on cloud 9 still. So we're just really, really in love with everyone and everything at the moment. So
I think you know what? I think we're walking down the street this morning, and Bess goes, "How do you feel?" And I said, "I tell you what, if I can wrap it up in one word, it's rest." It's literally like, it's like you're coming into this place of rest, to know that it's like you've been sent out from the King in heaven, and the King in heaven has got everything that he's going to provide you and equip you with everything you need for your assignment. And you can rest in that, because it's like, wow, like this is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, who is sending you out to expand the kingdom of love and truth and peace and joy, in this world. And so this is just knowing this just brings so much rest. And it's I guess we'll be processing this for quite some time to come, and we'll be seeing things unfold as we go, I'm sure.
I'll have to process it later tonight. Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Looking forward to that. And
thank you so much for being there. Thank you for your blessing. Thank you for what you've done. You're a forerunner. You are everything that we're walking in, like the whole mystical community worldwide, what we're walking in. you know, you are a forerunner in the body temple stuff, you know, in church, so, you know, we just want to say thank you, you know, truly thank you from our hearts for laying your life down, Jacky, and, you know, allowing us to come into this space for such a time as this, you know, and experience what you guys have laid down at WOW, you know. So we are like so grateful, you know, for you, for your life, for your teachings, and yeah.
Thank you, Jacky. We really appreciate you and Ralph and the whole WOW community.
Ralph,
and
so good to meet you.
Yeah, like you guys, honestly, like I said the other day when we were chatting, you're just the joy bomb. Honestly, you're on the screen, and like, doesn't matter whenever you're on or when we just chat with you. There's I think you're walking such a level of rest. You know, that I'm still yet to come into. It's like this. You're just laughing and full of joy so much all the time, and it's such a beautiful thing to see, and you just emanate that whenever you're, you know, on the screen or talking or chatting or whenever it is, you know, that we see you. So thank you so much, and really love and appreciate you guys.
Let's go.
We'll see you tonight. See you soon.
About to die, actually, so I want my battery. I don't want it to die before the end.
Thank you. Thanks, Jacky. Thanks so much for your time. Blessings.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Love you. Bye.